chance to deliver a brilliant service. So welcome, Jack. I can see you've got your slides up there all ready to rock and roll as well.
Hey, morning, Dave. Yeah, all good to go.
Excellent.
I think so. No, thanks for the introduction there.
No worries at all over to you. Thank you. Thanks, Jack.
Perfect. No, good stuff. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. As David said, my name's Jack. I worked at TOPdesk for kind of just over 7 years now. And in my role as an account manager, it's really to help onboard kind of new customers, but also work with that existing customer base to help improve their use and enhance their use of TOPdesk. Before we have a look at the solution itself today, I've got a couple of slides put together, really to give you guys a bit of background information about TOPdesk and to help set the scene for the session today. Here at TOPdesk, as you can see there, we really aim to be your guides to service excellence. That means not only ensuring that you have the right product, the right tool in place, but also those processes, the knowledge that sits behind that, so you can really deliver that service excellence experience to your customers. Bit about TOPdesk here in the UK. We've got 2 offices based here. I myself work in our London office, and we also have an office up in Manchester as well. Between the 2 offices, as you can see, we look after over 300 customers here in the UK. And as you'll see as well, you'll always be supported by in-house local employees. So that's not only kind of during the implementation of the solution, working with our consultants, but also if you need to pick up the phone, speak to our support staff who are always there and ready to help. There'll always be a local-based expert there for you. Thinking though a bit more globally, TOPdesk as an organisation was founded over 25 years ago in the city of Delft in the Netherlands, and is still privately owned by the 2 chaps who did that, Frank and Walter. Since then, we've grown to have 15 offices worldwide, the most recent of which was over in Melbourne towards the end of 2019. And globally, as you can see, we support over 4,500 customers with over 800 employees there ready to help. Now, a bit about the session and what we're going to have a look at today. Well, TOPdesk solution is standard and simple. What do I mean by that? Well, it's an out-of-the-box solution, so it's really easy to configure. If we're thinking about enterprise service management, it's not only about being able to easily add in your different categories, statuses, etc., for those different teams and groups, but actually giving organizations the autonomy to onboard new services and new teams and departments, build up that service catalog, construct that really easily, and as well as that, be able to make new processes, new workflows, etc., within the solution. By having that, and especially when thinking about the service catalog and the portal, it really does deliver that true ESM experience. By having that one-stop shop, that single pane of glass, if you want, for your end users, they only have to go to that one portal to make their different requests, get that information, get that knowledge out of TOPdesk to help resolve their issue, and again, reduce those workloads, workflows, etc., for yourselves in the back end. That kind of touches upon that third point there of self-sufficiency for everyone. That not only includes or relates to your customers, ensuring they can easily raise requests, easily access and find that knowledge to resolve their issues, but actually yourselves in managing the application. Through our professional services, we'll train you guys in how to become TOPdesk experts, ensuring that you can make those changes to the solution, onboard those other teams, etc., with as kind of little intervention from us as possible there. So that's a little bit about us as an organization and what we're going to have a look at today. I'll just jump quickly now into TOPdesk itself so we can start to have a look at the solution. Now, as you can see there are 2 sides to TOPdesk, both the self-service portal and the operator side. We're going to start off with the portal, log in as a user, see how they can use the service catalog to start making requests for the different teams and departments that are managed within TOPdesk. Off the back of that and following that, we'll log into the back end to see what the more operational view is like. You can see I have branded kind of TOPdesk and the portal for yourselves today. Of course, the changes, configurations, etc., all can be made and managed by yourself. Today, purely just an example of what TOPdesk can look like. To start off then, as I said, I'm going to log in as a customer, an end user called John Dean. For the purpose of today, John Dean is a manager, so his service catalog, the services which sit behind these tiles, are quite extensive, but of course we can filter that down depending on your hierarchy in the organization. Now, to talk through this screen in a little bit more detail, just before we start making some requests, you can see at the top here, we have dynamic search bar, but actually before we do start raising those requests, I'll just draw your attention here to the left-hand side. Here already, we can start to see those different teams, those different services using the portal. For instance, we've got hot water not working on a specific floor. And as well as that, as John is a manager, we can see a couple of requests which have come through to him to approve. Now, if we take this broad service disruption, again, we're seeing one of the benefits here of the portal is actually being able to broadcast and share that information to the rest of the business. In this case, we know there's a broad service disruption, if we're thinking more ITIL, a major incident, so that the end users can come in and say they're affected by this in just one click. If we're thinking about workflows and approvals, you can see here a HR one. Someone has requested a change to their contract to move to a more flexible working. Again, as a manager, I can come in and with one click approve this. This will then go through the next stage to be processed, as that stage there was pre-approved. Underneath that, quickly, we can just see a news bar here. For instance, we might want to publish something that if you've had COVID and you're returning to work, we can just see some real high-level information about the policy, kind of including both links to statutory information, embedded documentation, and images there as well. How do I start making some requests? As you can see, there are a number of different tiles here, a number of different services and departments that are using the portal. We'll have a look in a second about how we can start to click through those. But actually, it could just be as easy as using the search bar. In John's office, perhaps it's a little bit too warm and he needs to make a request through to the facilities team, report something about the air conditioning unit. Now, just by typing into the search bar here, John's already presented with different services he could have available to him, but also straight away, we're sharing knowledge, sharing those FAQs to the organization. Underneath that, we can see some documentation, and at the bottom there, it's just a history of John's requests. What we're going to do though is go through to the page here about air conditioning. We've got some information about the service we're offering there. We've got some embedded images and GIFs as quick guides, and on the right-hand side, just some quick FAQs that John, another customer, might want to access there as well. For instance, how to change the temperature, always a fun topic, especially when everyone's going to be getting back into the offices. Again, publish these guides, make them as easy to use as possible. In this case though, it's not going to work for John and he still needs to raise a new ticket, raise a request about this. So he's brought through to this form here. The forms, as well as the design of the portal, is all done and put together within the interface using a drag and drop code free designer, so you can really build up that catalog, really build up those forms to capture the information that you need. Again, as well as sharing knowledge via the portal, by actually putting together forms and having the logic which sits behind them, requests can get routed through to the correct teams automatically. And when they're picked up, people know exactly how to get started on resolving that request. I'm just going to go ahead though really quickly and raise this new ticket. As I was typing though, as you can see here on the right hand side, TOPdesk has automatically searched the knowledge base. And at the top here, I can also maybe share this with a colleague as well. Perhaps they're also affected by the same thing, or I might be logging a ticket on behalf of them. I can actually add them into the ticket so they'll be kept in the loop as well. We've put a couple of fields in this form as well. Perhaps we want to capture what asset this involves, and straight away I can start to link that in from the ticket as well. Within a couple of clicks there, I've gone through to my form and raised that ticket. As well as using the search bar then to have a look at what services are available to me as an end user to start making those requests, I can also click through the tiles as well. Behind the My Workspace tile, we can see some services that we might want to offer to the end user, to the organization. If they want to request maybe access to a new mail group, report that they've lost their access key to the office, something like that. These are all forms and services we can publish here. Underneath that, again, we can start to see knowledge being embedded throughout every stage of the process. As well as though raising that request about my air conditioning unit not working properly, I might also want to request some new assets as well. We already had a look at the approval for changing a contract. Well, actually, we can start to order new assets as well, again, from the portal. Here we can see some assets that we might want to present in a web shop style. to the end user. And all I've got to do is add this to my cart, very similar to that Amazon online shopping experience here. I can select which manager I want to approve this and fill in a quick reason there as well. Underneath, especially as we're ordering some items at a cost here, we can enforce a mandatory field to accept the terms and conditions. Once I've hit submit, again, that'll get sent through to Angie to, well, if I'm John, to hopefully approve that for me. Now, just to go back to the portal, we can see at the bottom there, again, we've got some more teams and departments using it. If we have a look at this HR self-service tile, again, we can see some forms on the right-hand side here, directly requesting that service. But on the left-hand side, again, some more services here. It could be a question about training. It could be a question about pay there. But at the start, again, also at the top there, a typical process, which might involve a number of different teams and departments, is that new starter process. And for that, we've just put together this form to capture the information if John's got someone starting in his team. We can just see some example information here at the bottom as well, some dynamic logic. For instance, if they're starting in a particular office, there might be some specific options, but that could be if they're starting in a particular team as well. Do they need access to this software? Do they need to sit in this part of the business? Once I've submitted this form, TOPdesk will automatically start the workflow which sits behind it, so that process can start. We just had a quick run through there of the portal. What I'm going to do now is just jump into the back end so we can have a look at those services and look at those requests that we've just raised. For this then, I'm going to log in as a user called Dawn Meadows. Dawn, for the purpose of today, is perhaps our application manager or maybe a super user. So she has no filtering in place, so she can see absolutely everything and we can have a look at it today. But of course, we can filter that back and strip that back so your different teams and departments will only see the workload for themselves. This then is the operator's homepage at TOPdesk. As you can see, it's widget driven, so we can build up as many or as few of these as we want. And on the left-hand side there, we've got a shortcut bar to pin maybe functionality or pin lists to other parts of the solution, and as well as that, being able to raise new tickets just from here. As well as that, we can start to pin our reports to the homepage. So as soon as Dawn logs in, she can see who's been closing off what tickets and who is working on what. Now we can access absolutely everything here in the My Tasks widget, and underneath we can just see some example departments using it. So in this case, we've got application management, customer services, the facilities team, and IT there. Of course, we did have a look at HR. These have been filtered out so that only the HR team can see them. Now let's pick up that request we logged for the air conditioning unit that wasn't working. Here I've just come through to have a look at all of the first line tickets here. As we can see, if I click on a previously raised one for John, I can see an overview of what's been done already, and as well as that, a history of that request. It will also show a list of your similar tickets or related incidents there as well. Now, I'm conscious of time, so we're not going to go through the whole process of resolving this, but this is what that ticket would look like upon submission. We can see here that it's pulled through the information from our form, but actually when we're going to categorize the ticket, TOPdesk will dynamically suggest what is the best subcategory for this. I can hit air conditioning there, and you'll also notice that this light bulb there has illuminated. That means that there is a standard solution for this. So when we're thinking about templating responses, driving that automation, we can see here in a couple of clicks, I've been able to categorize my ticket and send John a solution for this. Now, as well as picking up requests that have been logged via the portal, we can, of course, log them as we're going. What I've done now is just open up our caller card, as well as picking up that ticket from John. He's also on the phone because he needs a new laptop. I'll start to type in his name. TOPdesk will pull through the branch he works for. Underneath, we can see a history of his tickets. We've got him on the phone and he's requesting a new laptop. What I've done there is just take the notes from my call. They'll be pulled through to raise a new ticket. And just like that, I've got my ticket. Underneath here, again, we can have a look at those smart suggestions. Again, TOPdesk understands that this is a laptop issue. Again, thinking about automation by categorizing this as a laptop ticket, TOPdesk will automatically assign this to my IT team. I'm going to save this off and John will get an email. Now these emails are customizable, supporting most rich text functionality, so I can personalize and customize those if I want. Now though, how do I resolve this for John? There's a couple of ways we can do this. If I have a look at the menu up here, perhaps I could raise a new request for change, look at one of those templated processes for a hardware request, raise it off the back of that. But actually there is another way we can do that. If a request, an incident, a ticket requires a few different steps or a few basic tasks to be completed, I can also assign a checklist to this. Now, a checklist is just a templated process of tasks. Again, we can see here a few different teams and departments have some processes in here. It could be a health and safety incident for our facilities team, or it could be we want to manage the new starter process with a checklist. In this case, I'm going to apply a new laptop process to this, and TOPdesk will then automatically assign some tasks. Now, these tasks can be given a due date, which won't influence its SLA, and as well as that, assign it perhaps to a specific team or department, so that they'll get a notification that they need to start working on this task. So that's just a couple of ways that we can start to resolve a request using either a checklist or perhaps applying a change process. Now, just to summarize what we've done really quickly, we've picked up and raised a couple of new requests there, one coming in via the portal and the other one, John requesting a new laptop. As well as using checklists to resolve a request, I'm just going to have a quick look at and show you some of those other processes that we can support. Thinking back to that new starter process, the form that we looked at on the portal, well, actually that form is linked to these templates here. Here we can see some example processes that we might want to manage within the solution, again, across a variety of different teams and departments. And for this, I'm just going to open up this new starter process. Again, this is linked to that form, so as soon as that form is submitted on the portal, this process can be automatically started. What does that look like though? If I have a look at my planner view, I can see that these are the tasks that we've associated with this process. If we're thinking about different teams working on a process, working on a request and collaborating to resolve it, I can also see here the different teams and departments involved, supporting both parallel and sequential tasks. I can see that my IT team is responsible for setting up the Active Directory account, while in the background, my facilities team can also be working on creating an access pass, setting up the desk, etc. If I had a look then, just really quickly there at a couple of different functionalities. As I said, I can also start to pin some shortcuts to the left-hand side here. What I've just done now is open up a list of my IT assets, but as you can see on the left-hand side here, we can support both IT and non-IT assets. Asset management within TOPdesk is all template driven, so it's really easy to start creating these templates, but also capturing that custom information about each asset. We're just going to quickly open up this networking server just to show you what that would look like. And as we can see, this is what this template looks like. Again, adding in new fields, building in that custom information is really easy to do. All we've got to do is do that within the interface, could perhaps use an existing field or actually start to capture custom information. I'm just going to close design mode really quickly. Go back to the asset screen here as well, because we can see here that this status is said that this is impacted by something. Whilst this is set to manual, we can also trigger the change of status in an asset automatically using the API. But actually, if it is impacted, how do I start to see the other assets, as we can see here, or maybe even the other services which are linked to it, how are they impacted? Well, if I go to my network topology diagram, I can see that this is that networking server, and these are the other servers that are linked to it. So if this goes down, or perhaps we're making a change to the infrastructure of the network, that kind of thing, we actually can start to see any potential impacts for that. I'm just conscious of time, guys, so I'm just going to close off these tabs that we've been working in just now and just show you the dashboards really quickly. As well as having these native dashboards within TOPdesk, we can use the OData feed or our OData feed to connect it to solutions like Microsoft Power BI and Tableau as well. What we're seeing here, though, is just the IT dashboard. We can see the different, or some different reports here, who's been closing off what, who is working on what. And on the left-hand side, we can see each functionality has its own dashboard. But again, we can also start to link this into other third-party dashboarding solutions as well. I hope that's given you guys a good feel for what TOPdesk can do in terms of offering that portal and that service catalog to the end users, how these tickets and requests can be picked up in the back end, worked on, and as well as that, some of those other processes. So thinking about that new starter process, some assets in there as well, and as well as that, a quick overview of the dashboard. That, guys, is what I wanted to show you quickly today. but of course, is there any questions as well off the back of that?
Thank you, Jack. That's a really good overview there, actually, and also I think shows some of the complexities in trying to manage this. You know, the logic behind all that. Excuse me, bit of a cough at the minute. Excuse me, guys. We have got a couple of questions that have come through.
Cool.
A couple from Sean, I think, and Sean's very interested in the reporting aspect of the tool, and he does ask for a demonstration of reporting. Can you show that? We haven't got the time, unfortunately, Sean, at the moment, but I'm sure if you reach out to Jack, I'm sure Jack would be able to, give you a session on reporting. Yeah. Sean also asks, does this work with a single sign-on? So it's a system single sign-on.
Yes, yeah. So we support that as standard. So that login screen of the end user is probably something that you wouldn't have to see there. We support that as standard. So yeah,
good. It is pretty much standard now, isn't it? I think back in the old days it wasn't so much. Those are quite painful days. We've got a couple of the questions coming through that I think we've got probably a few minutes that we can spend on.
Sure.
First one is from Emma. What is the most important consideration for delivering services? Now, services as a concept across the organization isn't as easy as, well, you tell me, is it as easy as telling the rest of the organization, this is what a service is, this is how you deliver a service? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's not exactly going to be like, Dave, like you touched upon there, like, here you go, this is what you asked for. It's actually a bit more complex than that. But I think at the heart of it, what you've got to do is consider what the customer expects. So if you're thinking about XLAs, customer expectations, it's about managing them, but also putting them at the heart of it. So ensuring that not only we're capturing what they need, but actually delivering what they asked for, but also in the way and the manner in which they asked for as well. So putting that customer expectation, David, at the heart of it is I think the most important consideration there.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think the difference of delivering a service and talking about customer experience in IT, and the difference of the rest of the organization understanding that concept in what they do, I'm not sure how difficult or tricky that is in some organizations to grasp across the whole enterprise, which is interesting. I think it's just part of that evolving thing as service managers. It doesn't have to have an IT in front of it, doesn't it? It's a service manager managing service. Yeah. We've got another question from Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. Does it have a knowledge-based portal?
Yes, so for the knowledge base, as we were kind of seeing as we were going through on the front end, those FAQs, knowledge items, can be embedded within the different service pages and on the forms themselves. But we could also just publish the kind of full knowledge base on the portal there as well. And for agents, for your back end users, have a completely segregated knowledge base. We do both on that one. But again, happy to run through things with people, David, on a more individual basis as well.
That's right.
To give more insight.
I mean, that makes sense. I think Stephen was specifically looking at, from a technical perspective. And I think there's a lot more now when you look at knowledge and enabling both sides of that relationship, especially when you're going through some of the dynamic search in some of the tools that we see out there at the minute. So it's supporting the quicker resolution and the more effective resolution of first point of contact. That's great. We've got maybe one more we can squeeze in.
Okay.
And this is from Max. How do you overcome any different expectations between teams and departments? Which is interesting. We touched upon that a little bit, didn't we? So different expectations between teams and departments.
Yeah, it's a good question there. I think it's almost quite similar to when we're thinking about delivering the services. It's when we were saying about actually having the customer at the heart of everything and managing and setting their expectations from the beginning. It's actually the same for those different teams and departments, understanding what they want to achieve out of it. Different teams and different departments might have a different breadth or complexity of process or request, so ensuring that their expectations are met, but actually managing it from day one, getting those expectations aligned and set out so that they know what they're going to get at the end, and as well as that, involving them throughout. So quite an agile approach to it there, putting different people at the heart of it and ensuring that there is that constant feedback mechanism within it, so that when we are going live, etc., towards the end of the project, that their expectations can be met. So expectations set at the beginning, considered throughout, and then delivered at the end upon.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much for that. So we're pretty much closed then on that one. Thank you for the demonstration.
Cool.
Thank you for the questions. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think you'll be joining us a little bit later on our first Q&A as